Sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your Fusion Radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
The program presented or submitted by members of our community and are a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect those of KNLY 91.1 FM and its affiliates.
Welcome to Today with Cachet. It is Friday. It's the end of the week. And we are here in the Woodlands, Texas. Yes, we are. And it's all about Hot Topic this month. We've been focusing on suicide awareness, suicide prevention. And today in the studio, I have two individuals. I have a returning guest, Bridget Zaletka. Welcome back. And I also have the wonderful Dave Waxler joining us this morning. You know, obviously we've been, focusing on this month, and it's obviously a huge topic. You know, I did do a little research, and I want to kind of just throw these numbers out to see what I read, or what I actually read, was 5% of adults 18 or older experience mental illness in any 1 year. That's an estimated 43.8 million people. Of that, 14.4% experience a disorder, one disorder. 5.8% experience two disorders. Right. And 6% are three or more. So there's this a disorder within the illness that occurs. Is that correct? What does this mean? What do these numbers mean, and what did I read?
Well, the two or more disorders, I mean, we know that we call that co-occurring disorders. Okay. And sometimes people who struggle with one thing tend to struggle with another. So a lot of times we see people who might have depression, and often we might see an anxiety disorder happening with that. Okay. So I guess the question about, is there a disorder within, like a disorder within a disorder?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I read out of that was that, and I'm thinking about, obviously mental health means, hey, that's the good side. You just want to live a good life. You want to do things to be mentally healthy, so to speak. And then there's something that where you go into maybe having anxiety attacks, or you start going into depression, which can still be kind of normal. People go in and out of that. That's right. But then it can go into a level where it starts to become a disorder before it becomes an illness. And is that the way I'm reading that? And so if that's
and it's like, what is a disorder?
Yeah.
Too? The disorder is defined, right, by, who's defining what's normal versus what's a disorder. So that's a question in itself.
And not everything that happens that's difficult in your life is a disorder. In fact, some of the healthiest things that we go through, even the good things like getting married or having a baby, can be very difficult. But that doesn't mean that they're disordered.
Okay.
And I've actually had clients. I actually have clients who come to me and they say they want to do preventive counseling, which I respect, but I don't look for problem. My definition.
Yeah, we're not looking for. We're not looking for.
I say it's not a problem until it's a problem.
So exactly, and that's a really good point, because we all go through. We all have normal mood fluctuations. Yeah. We all have anxiety. You can't be alive without having some anxiety, right? That's part of the human condition. So when does something become a disorder? And like from a clinical standpoint, we're always thinking about impact on functioning.
Yeah.
So in what areas of the person's life is this getting in the way?
Exactly.
And when those things start to add up, then we start thinking about it in terms of a disorder. But we're speaking from a medical model here when we're talking about when we're talking in this way, right?
Sure. And Dave, you want to tell everyone out there a little bit about who you are and your background?
Oh, right.
I already got to know him, as you can see. That's why I was like, "Hey, Dave, this is what I found." The world out there needs to know. Tell them.
So I am, along with Bridget, a therapist here in the Woodlands. I've been practicing for 10 years, and I do see young people as young as 9, 10 years old, all the way up to. I do work with a lot of young adults, and I have done some couples work. Which is very difficult, in my opinion. Some people love it.
Couples, yeah.
And then adults and families. So I do a lot of work across the board with different groups, and I focus mostly. And Bridget's got a clinical background, but I'm more of a. I focus more on authenticity and helping clients become more real about who they are.
Okay. Because that's where it starts, right?
Well, I have some philosophy points that would say that most of the anxiety that we have is about figuring out who we are, and I think that a lot of our concerns are about that story of our evolving sense of self.
Okay.
So that's a lot of the focus that I spend in my work.
Yeah, and Dave and I are great. We're great colleagues. We work really well together, and we love doing this, right? Busting the stigma about mental health and raising awareness. And I agree, authenticity. That's what when we were on before.
It was a huge eye-opener for me, right? Because I always would relate to, I'm so direct. And I always would use the words, I'm direct with people. And maybe not everybody can handle that. And then Bridget made me realize what it really is. I am looking for authenticity because I'm being not so much direct, but I'm also being just authentic.
Being real.
Yeah. And not everybody, not a huge percentage of society does that. Is that correct?
I would say that's I don't know if our society even rewards that. I mean,
they don't. I can tell you.
Well, to whatever extent.
I can tell you for a fact they don't.
I mean, Cass, you know that the process of asserting yourself in this particular instance, you have created an opportunity for you to be really you.
Yeah.
And it benefits many others, hopefully. I think that's true.
I hope.
It does.
I think that a lot of people want to be that. And I think that sometimes they look at someone who is really authentic, and it maybe reminds them of some things they wish they had for themselves.
Okay.
So
and we live in this fake online social media world, right? And Tessa was talking about that before.
Yeah, Tessa was talking.
Creates a lot of isolation, right? The fake book, that people are, we're wearing a mask, right, often in public, and then also online. And that can become problematic, right, in terms of knowing one's
Speaking of that, the other night we saw the movie The Joker, and I know you did. And so I wanted to, I walked through in my mind what I thought occurred in that movie and what it showed me. And I want to kind of throw this out there, was that, anyone can go through stuff in their life, and like we said, can, have depression and anxiety. But what I got out of that was there was 3 failures that happened in that movie. He had family failure, he had medicine failure, and he had the system that failed him. And the 3 components of failure there really is what brought him to where he was.
Set him off.
And so as a society, what's going on a lot of times when we have these, whether it's an individual, child or adults who become suicidal, it's because there were so many levels at which they didn't get the proper attention or care that failure set in, mental illness sets in at some point, and then it's too late. Is that,
Well, and I think an important point is that 2 people can experience the same set of very similar circumstances, right? Say from childhood through to adulthood. So that could be, poverty, trauma, all of those different things that we see. And we're getting at this resilience piece, right? That for someone that may create, problematic issues, with mental health, and another person may emerge from the same set of circumstances very strong. And that's why we're always trying to, and Dave's a good one to talk about this, help people build resilience.
Okay.
That's always part of the work.
Resilience.
You can go online. In fact, I would encourage anyone to go online and look at there's lots of assessments for adverse childhood experiences. So things that happen in your childhood, like if you witness domestic violence, or if your family, poverty is one of the things you mentioned, substance abuse, all different kinds of abuse, sexual assault or other types of traumatic experiences that you have. They statistically, it's very well founded that they will create the likelihood of further problems. And the same thing is true. There's positive. There's positive. We call them developmental assets. We talked about that. Developmental assets such as community support, opportunities to participate in activities, learning, positive adults who are role models. Those can actually promote resiliency, so that when the person does have difficulties, then they have a way to bounce back. I like to use the analogy of a tree that bends in the wind. You know, we're here in the Houston area. You've been through a hurricane or two?
Yes.
Well, of course. When I was young, and even just more recently. Last one I wasn't here, I was in Canada. Sorry, but
they don't have as many hurricanes in Canada as they do.
But
here.
I have, yes.
Yeah. So the trees are always. I always ask. I like to tell the kids this: what happens to trees in the storm? And they say, they fall over, but that's not really true. Trees can bend in the wind and not break. And I try to promote that idea, that image in your mind of, just because something's difficult for you, it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. But there are things you need to build into your life.
We can weather a lot of storms.
In fact, we do weather a lot of storms all the time. And we may not realize that we have a strength in us already that we need to tap into.
I'm so glad you brought up the adverse childhood events. So we call that ACE, ACE, adverse childhood events. And like Dave said, that there is a whole list of those. And interestingly, sometimes having a number of those, could put you at risk for, mental health issues, but also physical health issues.
That's true.
Right?
They say that your mental can actually have a correlation to how your physical health becomes.
So they know that people who've been exposed to a lot of adverse childhood events will end up having more disease later in life. So this is why it's so important to help people build build resiliency, build coping skills. And get healthy in every way.
I'm wondering though, if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, "Oh no, they're doomed."
Well, no, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get, what I'm hearing here is, there is a more natural side of everyone's going to go through anxiety, everyone's going to have depression, everyone's going to have childhood issues, adulthood issues, but there becomes a point where no longer is just the natural side of things, the coping, the resilience, all of those things go out the way, and the mind and the body can no longer handle what trauma has occurred, and then it goes into a disorder or an illness. Is that correct?
That certainly can happen. But for some people, they're able to, they've learned coping skills and they've had a lot of support, like Dave was talking about, personal support, community support in their lives. Maybe they've gone and done some counseling, right?
Which is very important.
So being aware of the adverse childhood events doesn't mean you're doomed, right? It means, okay, how am I managing now? And if I'm not managing, where can I get the help to manage? Right? Because we can always find those ways.
I think a lot of people are tolerating an enormous amount of difficulty in their life without realizing that they don't have to live like that. I have a lot of clients who show up and they're amazed at how much they've been putting up with.
Right.
And I think that this kind
when they start telling the story.
They start telling the story.
They start telling the story, right? It's very emotional for them, right?
People try to be strong
we have that in our culture.
Right. Instead of saying, I can go get some assistance or go get some help or go get some counseling. You always have to be so strong.
Well, that's one of the biggest things I hear about why people won't come to therapy in the first place. They think that there's some stigma attached.
They're
that
scared.
It's some sort of weakness.
Yeah, that it means something bad about them.
Okay, well, I was just in her office before, and the three of us, we had so much fun, and it's the cutest office. So I'm just saying right now, there's no stigma anymore. We're going to take a quick commercial, and we'll be right back.
All right.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your fusion radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Veda's Medical Spa and Wellness Center is a premier wellness center specializing in effective medical interventions to help you look and feel younger. Dr. Nangrani is dedicated to providing unmatched personalized care using a holistic approach. that includes sophisticated cosmetic, aesthetic, and anti-aging treatments in a warm and relaxing atmosphere. Combining a medical spa with a wellness center, we ensure the best medical treatments are complemented by specialized holistic healing techniques. Vetta's treatments will enhance your natural beauty and never leave you with that done look. Visit us at vettasmedspa.com or call us at 281-298-5476.
This is E.L. Crane of Real Estate U here each and every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 91.1 FM The Boss. Remember, that's Real Estate U. Insightful, informative, and a little humor tossed in. Real Estate U, listening live, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. each and every Saturday at 91.1 The Boss.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Installation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam installation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
Express your gratitude to the Lord, and may your life always be filled with joy. Happy Autumn from
KNLY 91.1 FM.
For fresh flowers fast, call Barb's Iris Floral at 281-820-2294 with excellent customer service since 1983 for weddings, funeral services, sweet 15s, corporate events, and all occasions. For that special someone you love, barbsirisfloral.com and barbsirisfloralboutique.com. Come on in and pick out of our prestigious gallery at 727 Westmont Houston Road, Houston, Texas 77038. Text 832-466-8414. Barb's Iris Floral delivers fresh flowers fast.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
Good morning. It's Friday, and welcome back to Today with Cachet. In the month of November, Hot Topic is all focused on suicide awareness and prevention. And so this morning I have in the studio two counselors, licensed professional counselors, both Bridget Seletka and Dave Waxler here, talking deeper into the mental side of things and what takes it from a natural, normal depression, anxiety to the next, level of the disorder, illness, and then what could potentially cause suicide. So that's what we're talking about this morning. And today's show, I didn't mention earlier, we are doing an hour today because we wanted to be able to make sure that we covered everything. So we are going a little bit longer today. Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you. Did you want to dig a little deeper from we were talking during commercial?
Right.
Yeah.
So the suicide has become a crisis in our culture, and and I see it as from young people as young as 6, 7, 8 years old, all the way up into into senior adulthood.
At that age, what is it? I mean,
well, I can imagine a parent. I've spoken to a lot of parents who are terrified when they hear their child say something like, "I don't want to live anymore," or, "I wish I was never born."
Yeah.
And it's important to help distinguish when is that a cognitive, developmental process, or when is that something to be afraid of. Now, as therapists, we never minimize that statement or that idea, but we do pay attention. We don't always have to become fully alarmed when someone mentions things like mortality or concerns about their existence. It's not necessary, and sometimes that can even traumatize a child more if you overreact.
Really? Okay.
But I don't want to tell people not to react, because I've had some parents who minimize their child's risks, and that was definitely something that I would never want to encourage, is to minimize risk.
Absolutely not. No.
So,
but there's a big difference between having a thought and an action.
Yes.
Right? I could be standing in the grocery store and someone's irritating me, and I might think, oh, I'd love to, trip that person.
Right.
But of course,
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one.
But actually doing it, there's a big leap between thinking it and doing it, right? So there's a big difference between a suicidal thought, like many people have the thought, like, I wish I didn't have to be here anymore. Life would be so much easier if I was in heaven or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Versus having an intent, right?
Right.
To act on that or having a plan to
Or
act on
suffering.
that.
Some people
So
say
we
it
don't
as
want
a
to
flippant
minimize it
statement.
either.
Some people use it as a flippant statement, and
Right.
they don't really mean it. Is what you're saying. But then there's that next level.
Well, plus in our culture now, we've been successful at highlighting suicide as an issue.
Yeah.
So that the idea is out there. So
It's really out there.
More
Yeah.
young people and more adults are actually thinking about suicide as a topic.
Right.
And so it's kind of a catch-22. That doesn't necessarily mean just because you have those thoughts.
Right.
And
Doesn't mean you're going to do it.
Doesn't mean you're gonna do
But we
it.
don't want to ignore the thoughts.
so there's a
either.
way we have what we call a suicide protocol. So I actually coach parents on this. I coach teachers
Okay.
on this. And as therapists, we all know this idea that there's 3 levels. This is the way I explain it.
Okay, perfect.
There's 3 levels to decide how risky a situation is.
Right.
Making a statement, that's level 1. Suicidal ideation is the first level of the suicide protocol. And having those thoughts is something that we pay attention to.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to send someone to the hospital or take any dramatic
Interesting. Okay.
actions.
Or even do a safety plan
Or
or,
even do a
anything like
safety
that.
plan.
Because it might just be a thought.
I think, and I want to make sure, this is a message I want to get out.
Yes,
The
this is very
suicide, the thought of suicide, in my opinion, is an identity crisis. I think that if you want to harm yourself, you should be asking, what is so intolerable about yourself that you can't live with it, or that you can't live with the life that you're living? I've had people tell me they don't want to die, they just want to start over, or they want to be somebody else.
So when they say I want to commit suicide, they're really saying they want to escape from.
They want to change who they are or
they're
how
not
they
necessarily
are.
mean dying. Okay.
And so, in some ways, it's a great way to pay attention and to get attention and say, okay, well, let's talk about who do you want to be that doesn't want to die. And now we're
love
focused
that.
on positives, strengths, moving forward instead of getting anxious.
So you will identify that first when someone walks in and they've come in and said that. That's the first step.
I've had people tell me that alone, that idea alone,
that's huge.
rescued them from
That
their
is huge.
fear of their own thoughts.
That is huge.
Can you say it again? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
people
can you
need to
repeat-
hear it
I know, I
again.
do, I agree.
That's an important one.
All right, let's go back
Yeah.
over that. I like that.
I
I
really
like
feel like
that.
this is an important message. Okay, having the thought, not everybody wants to die.
Right.
In fact, we're born to
We're
live.
born to fight to live, aren't
Right.
we? Yes.
So
okay.
and so, I think that suicide is an identity crisis.
Identity
I think
crisis.
it's a crisis of
Absolutely.
self.
Right.
And we were talking earlier about difficulties, and I believe in what I call the emotional immune system.
Okay.
Just like if we get the flu or a cold, our body has the ability to resist, to fight back. But that process is not pretty. It's ugly. Healing and illness
That's
are
right.
kind of the same thing. So getting
hard
sick
work.
is hard work. It's not pretty, but it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Okay.
And once we've overcome that illness, we're stronger and we're unlikely to get sick from that same virus again.
Okay.
So the same is true emotionally. If we can overcome these challenges, they won't defeat us every time. And there's things that used to bother us as children that don't bother us as adults.
Right.
So we're constantly building emotional immune system.
Okay.
So
As you
And
were saying,
working-
you were repeating it one more time. You were
okay.
saying.
So the suicide.
And the question. I love the question that you said, who do you
Want to be? That's right. Who do you want to be that doesn't want to die? What kind of life do you want to live that you wouldn't feel this way?
Yeah.
And
Powerful work.
So that's
to explore
that's
in
an
therapy.
important question
Really
to
powerful.
ask someone when they approach you, whether it's a parent or whether it's a counselor. If someone
Or-
comes to you and says, "I want to commit suicide," you need to first ask that question: who is it that you're running from and trying not to be?
I like to make sure that people, we understand that these thoughts are just thoughts. I like what you said, Bridget.
Okay.
It's really important that you don't take yourself too serious. Thoughts are just thoughts. You don't. You only decide if you make them true.
Okay.
And then helping people realize that those thoughts can actually guide you towards healing.
Right.
If you give
Yes.
yourself permission to do the work. Now,
But we got to get them to do the work.
we got to.
Right.
Well,
Right.
yeah. If
That's
you're
an
so
important
desperate
piece.
that you feel like dying, or you're thinking about dying, then you don't deserve to live like that. So, I would encourage those people to, first of all, give themselves permission to be upset.
Okay.
Pay attention to those feelings, and then let them guide you into getting help. I don't mind, I'm very transparent about this. I lived with depression when I was a teenager, when I was in college, and I had suicidal thoughts, and I was very, very depressed for a while, and I had to do a lot of work myself. And I tell my clients that up front, because I want them to understand that we're all doing this, we're all struggling with that.
Which makes
And you
you
can get
a
through it.
very good individual to speak to
Well,
individuals like that.
I feel
because
like they need
you've
to
been
know.
there. You've
I
been
know
there.
how.
You've been there.
I don't know. I've never been as far as going to the hospital, but I can sympathize, empathize
Yeah.
with my clients. So I help them. I reassure them that I'm not saying this as a clinician. I'm saying it as a person, as a human being who understands what
And you
it's
said there
like.
were two others, there were three.
Okay, so number 2.
Yes.
If a person comes, thank you.
Wait, go back to number 2.
No,
one is thoughts.
One is
Dave's,
ideas.
This is Dave's debut. We're going to keep him on air on track. Let's
Well,
go. Okay.
Yes.
If it helps people, this is what I do this for, is my life.
Sure.
So if a person's thinking, that's one level. If a person is deciding how they're going to do it,
Right.
if they have a plan to do it,
Okay. Premeditation.
it's getting closer to, we're getting more concerned. And I think as clinicians, as therapists, we would start to get concerned about that.
Yes.
I would tell parents, if your child has a plan and a well thought out plan, you should definitely pay attention
Do
to
they
that.
usually tell you though? I mean, when someone
You'd be surprised.
do that. That's what
I
I'm
was just
asking.
gonna
I mean, do
say-
they really tell the plan?
Because a lot
In
of people
fact-
don't ask the question, so we're asking the question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the next step.
So it sounds like, if I'm catching something here, if a parent out there is listening right now, or an individual, doesn't have
Just
to be
for
a
your own
child,
self.
if you hear someone say to you that I want to kill myself, first know that it could just be a self-identity issue, is what
Right.
he said. But you have to, at that point, take them to counseling or address it to identify whether it's that or if it's the next level and the plan has already been put in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say,
Okay.
if you're working with a person and they are in despair and they're saying these things, do not minimize it.
Right.
Don't talk them out of it. Say, I hear you, I empathize, and then say, we should get you some help.
Let's go get counseling.
Do
Let's go
not
talk
take
to
it. I
someone.
never
agree.
ever. I tell people, I want to be able to sleep at night. I want to know that I did everything I could to help save you. And if you did something,
Right.
and I didn't do my part, then I couldn't live with that.
So then at that point, the plan.
So if they have a plan, so I will say, well, how would are you thinking about how you would do that?
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Right. What do you say? What are you doing?
So when someone says that to me, I let them talk and talk it through and explore the thought first, and then I try to get them to expand on the thought by asking, "Have you thought about how you would do that?"
Okay.
And Cachet, you would be surprised.
Yes, I'm saying, yeah.
A lot of times
Well, they
have.
want to tell you. I
They
think
have.
they're so hurting, they're so desperate. That they
Because
want
again,
to
they
tell you.
really want to just escape that one person.
That's right.
So they want to tell you. They're
They
glad
wanna
you
tell
ask.
Yes.
Right. And a
So-
lot of times there's a flood of emotions, right? Because they've never said it out loud. They've never admitted it.
Yeah.
They're scared to admit it. And sometimes just talking it through, and then you go to the next step, which is, how, you have to assess the risk, right?
Okay.
And then figure out what we're going to do with that. But sometimes them just saying it, that they've thought about doing it in a certain way, that thought's crossed their mind, they might say afterwards, but I would never actually do that. But, I can't even believe I'm saying that because I would never really do that. But sometimes it's a relief for them to actually just have someone that they can trust to just talk it through
Well, it sounds
and
like
to
the
not be
counseling is
scared
so
of those
important.
thoughts anymore.
Yeah, to have someone, the counseling aspect, and to have someone to
Yeah.
speak to. If
they're
listeners are out
scared.
there, that
Well,
is crucial
I
for
think
what
that's-
someone is going through. Yeah.
What you're saying, Bridget's important. Counselors are definitely. Obviously I believe in what
Yeah.
we do, but you don't have to be a therapist
No,
to
ask
help
these
a person.
questions.
I
Yeah.
think what you're saying about them being scared is, knowing that if the person that you're working with, if you are scared,
Right.
if you're giving them anxiety, then they feel like they have to take care of your anxiety.
Right.
You're not helping them. I think we need to learn how to not panic when a person's talking about these things and say, all right, let's
Right.
talk about.
Well, they don't
Okay.
tell
How
they
to
don't
help
tell
you.
their parents or their teacher or their friend because they don't want everyone around them to freak out.
Right.
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 And think that they're imminently suicidal. But yes, but they've had those occasional thoughts. Sometimes it's a passing thought, right? And maybe they've even thought about what they would do or when or how they would do it. But they just need that safe place to explore that, right? Without, as therapists, we're trained. We're not going to freak out when they say that. We're going to go deeper and figure out where are we at with this? What's the risk here? Do we need to do a safety plan? Do we need to
Right.
send them to the
Well, that's
hospital?
what
Or
I
can
would
we just
do.
address it in therapy? Sometimes we can just address it in therapy.
The third level then is if they are genuinely intentional, and I've actually had young people say, I can't
No one's
promise you
going to
that I
stop
won't.
me.
Then I say, well, we're done
Okay.
with talking about your feelings. We start talking about your safety.
Okay.
And I will take charge of that situation. I will find someone to get, either if it's a young person, I will find the responsible adult.
And quick question: most of the patients you're seeing, what level are they coming in at? And that's important. The reason I ask that question is because that will tell me how intricate the outside has helped them versus at the level they've come into you.
At least 80 to 90% of my clients have told me that they've had suicidal thoughts.
thoughts. I would agree with that. I think a high percentage of human. I think it's actually part of human nature to think about it at some point, right?
Between the three stages, were they at the identity level? Were they at the intentional level? Or were they at the level
I probably have
of
only
just,
about less than 10% have been at the level 3.
Okay.
Where I had to stop what we're doing
to go to the
and get
hospital
safety.
today.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
Right.
less than 10%.
And level 2 is more like a safety plan. So, and we all do safety plans, right? And that could be bringing the parent in, having the conversation so that you know the parent's keeping an eye on the situation. It could be removing objects that they might cut with or self-harm with.
We're intentionally not giving you any ideas today, by the way.
Well, no, what I guess I'm getting at is it sounds like if we do as a society, a better job with the initial step of when someone is going through a crisis mentally, whether it's just a flippant thought or depression, and we jump on that, then when they come to, whether it's the counselor or they're speaking to someone, then the stages can be done properly to help prevent the final
escalation.
Right, or escalation.
Right. Ideally, we're intervening at that first stage, having those conversations, giving them that safe place to talk these thoughts through.
Right.
So that it doesn't escalate.
Right.
That's ideal. So when people come in, to me anyway, I feel like a lot of people have some symptoms of depression often, or a high level of anxiety that is exacerbating some of these thoughts. Maybe they used to have that thought once a year. It would just come for a minute or half a minute and then go, right? Because thoughts come and go.
And do you also think...
But now they're having it more frequently because they may be depressed.
Okay. And do you also think that, so hearing this, we haven't really focused on the social media side and all that. So if I'm hearing what you're saying, whether it's 25 years ago, I used this the other day, versus today, how much of it is just that alone versus the outside social media and what's going on in our society today that's causing this? Is it just because of, hey, I have a self-identity issue, and hey, I need to figure myself out, and I need to, or is it the social media, the outside world? I mean,
social
which one
media
is more?
Does create an identity crisis.
Okay.
And I've had
it does.
Countless people tell me that by looking at all these curated images, on the internet and on the social media, that they feel like their own life doesn't match what these other, Instagrammers and others say.
Okay.
When the fact is that all of those people are suffering as well, but they're not going to put that on Facebook.
So hence is why there is the surge. Bingo.
Right.
Got it.
So,
and also, let's just think about thoughts. We have, I don't know what the number, I'm going to make up numbers, but it's thousands of thoughts we have a day. I'm having lots of thoughts right now. I'm thinking about my, if I'm saying the right, I'm thinking about if I'm saying the right thing. I'm thinking about how my back feels in the chair. I'm thinking about what I want to cover.
So many thoughts go through our head.
So we have so many thoughts, right? So a person who is looking at social media is having a lot of thoughts too. Like that's what Dave was getting at about, oh gosh, they look so happy. Oh, they've got a boyfriend, or they look great. I weigh more than that, or I don't have money to do all this fun stuff. That comparison thing is a killer, right? Yeah. And then also, what is a depressed person, think about the thoughts that go with that, right?
Right.
I'm not good enough. My life isn't what I want it to be.
Right.
I don't have any friends. Nobody cares about me, right? We could make a list of hundreds of those, right? So the work always involves getting at the thoughts. So mixed in there sometimes are these self-harming thoughts, right? That could lead to cutting or suicidal thoughts or things like that. So we have to give people a safe place to explore the thoughts, right? Where we're not going to freak out. We're not going to judge, right? We're going to just get in there, get at those thoughts, and figure out what's happening with this. Is there another layer there that we need to be more concerned about, or are we going to be able to, work this through and help you address that identity stuff and help you start thinking differently about your life and feeling differently about who you are?
Right.
One of the strategies I use is to try to flip their flaws into features. And to say,
flaws into features. Okay.
Yeah, every feature is a flaw. Every flaw is a feature. I think I told you earlier that I got in trouble in school for talking too much. That was one of my biggest, believe it or not.
I kind of did too.
Believe it or not. And now I joke.
Surprise!
I get paid for this.
So did I actually on every report card. Everyone.
So all about.
So now I see that as a feature. I think I've turned it into a career actually. So everything that we see in ourselves that we don't like, that we're unhappy with, even things that we find intolerable, there has to be a way to flip it and say, where's the strength in that?
Yes.
And now we're moving towards resiliency.
Empowerment.
And to say, oh, your vulnerability is actually your strength.
Interesting. We're going to take another quick commercial, and we're going to be right back. We'll be right back.
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your fusion radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Veda's Medical Spa and Wellness Center is a premier wellness center specializing in effective medical interventions to help you look and feel younger. Dr. Nangrani is dedicated to providing unmatched personalized care using a holistic approach that includes sophisticated cosmetic, aesthetic, and anti-aging treatments in a warm and relaxing atmosphere. Combining a medical spa with a wellness center, we ensure the best medical treatments are complemented by specialized holistic healing techniques. Veda's treatments will enhance your natural beauty and never leave you with that done look. Visit us at vedasmedspa.com or call us at 281-298-5476.
This is E.L. Crane of Real Estate U here each and every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on 91.1 FM The Boss. Remember, that's Real Estate U. Insightful, informative, and a little humor tossed in. Real Estate U, listening live, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. each and every Saturday at 91.1 The Boss.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Installation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam installation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
Express your gratitude to the Lord, and may your life always be filled with joy. Happy Autumn from
KNLY 91.1 FM.
For fresh flowers fast, call Barb's Artist Floral at 281-820-2294 with excellent customer service since 1983 for weddings, funeral services, sweet 15s, corporate events, and all occasions. For that special someone you love, barbsirusfloral.com and barbsirusfloralboutique.com. Come on in and pick out of our prestigious gallery at 727 Westmont Houston Road, Houston, Texas 77038. Text 832-466-8414. Barb's Artist Floral delivers fresh flowers fast.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
Welcome back to Today with Cachet. It is Friday. We're here in the Woodlands, Texas, and we are talking this month. Hot topic is all about suicide awareness and prevention. And this morning in the studio, I have the wonderful Bridget Seletka and Dave Waxler helping dig deeper into the mindset of how to actually walk through it. I mean, there are stages. I mean, it's not just a flippant thing that happens overnight. Right. There's a process through that.
Bridget and I both want to be practical about this discussion because, you know, it's one thing to talk about the clinical side of it and you know, where it all comes from, but we really believe in giving people practical things that they can actually do.
Absolutely.
To live a better life.
Sure.
And
to feel better.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, it was funny because I was earlier when I was back to the movie when I had talked about that. You know, my own idea. Of course, this is not what you said or anyone said, but I looked at it and I thought, God, in my mind, it looked like his family failed him, medicine failed him, and the system failed him.
Right.
So he just, at some point, you go into another world. And so how much we know kind of how family, we've talked a lot about that, but medicine, can we dig a little deeper into the medical side of things and the medicine?
I have clients that ask me, should I take medicine? And I can't make that choice for them.
Because we're not medical doctors.
No.
Right, but we have a good sense, I think most of us have a good sense of when it starts to feel like someone could benefit from a referral
Right.
either their primary or psychiatrist to start looking at some medicine.
I say, depression is when your inside doesn't match your outside.
Okay.
When who you want to be on the inside, because we all have an idea about who we want to be.
Yeah.
And we can't find a way to make it happen in the real world.
Sure.
And that could be things like abuse. There's people who say, I don't want to be a person who was abused. I mean, nobody wants to be that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing they feel like they can do to change
get
that.
that off.
Because it's something that happened to them. So a lot of trauma is part of that, and a lot of grief. A lot of people are suffering from enormous grief, not just from loss of loved ones, but loss of potential, loss of maybe their job, or loss of things that they couldn't have. Like I call it the fantasy parent, which is awful to say because so many of us have wonderful parents, but some of us have had terrible childhoods with parents, and we feel like we should have had a better parent.
Right.
And there's some
losing
loss
out
there.
on that.
So I think those people get, that's one side of it, the self-esteem and the image crisis. But then that can go so far as to affect your chemical balance. It can change your neurology.
Yeah.
And so there are times when, I think of it as a spectrum, you can get to a point where you cannot use only talk therapy. Sometimes you do need medical interventions to change that
imbalance that has so been off.
But it's just so painful. I say no one should ever suffer
Have to
that.
live in that. And we've seen medicine, it's certainly not the first thing we jump to, but we see medicine changing people's lives.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. The question I think you're asking, Cache, is when does a person need medicine?
Yeah.
When is this clinical depression and
how much?
the inside's not matching
And how
the
much?
outside?
And how much?
So I mean, if you think it's helpful, we can talk through, how we assess that.
Yeah.
How we think about
that.
that.
Well, I guess, I mean, I think it's important because there's people out there right now who are maybe on medication and have gone through. We've kind of danced the first stage. Now they're at the point where they're taking the medicine or they're in the process of or prescribed the medicine. Yes.
Well, and there's a big stigma about this as well, because people think I shouldn't have to take a pill, right, to feel better.
Yeah.
But we know that there's brain chemicals involved, right? And I always try to ask people to parallel it with physical health, right? That if you had a heart condition, you'd take the heart pill, right? My daughter has juvenile diabetes. She has to be on insulin every day the rest of her life, right? To stay alive.
Please give me anesthesia before I go under. Please
don't
cut on me without giving me medicine.
The point is, if we have something physically wrong with us, we're most of us are okay taking. Maybe we don't love taking a pill. I have a pill I take every day. I don't love taking it, but I take it because I have to. But somehow when it's involving mental health, there's such a barrier, it's such a stigma. But we know that sometimes talk therapy isn't enough, and people do have to at least have that conversation with their primary care provider, or we can make a referral to a doctor, to talk to about, is medicine appropriate? And sometimes that's a bit of a journey, getting to the right medicine.
It does take a lot of work.
But,
because you have to learn what works for that person.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it takes a long time to even get in to see a psychiatrist or a doctor who can help you.
It can.
So that's part of what we do with clients, is help them gain the courage and the momentum and the motivation to do those things sometimes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your office and kind of when a client reaches out and that kind of thing? Either one of you go first,
I see a lot of people, I think, like most therapists do, who have depressive symptoms and anxiety. My office is here in this building, and
beautiful office. I saw it.
It's nice.
It's really nice. So I always try to get at, and I come from that interpersonal connection, authenticity standpoint as well, and the clinical side, because I did come out of a hospital outpatient setting.
Wow.
So, when we think about what is depression, the disorder that's in the DSM, what are the symptoms of that? So that's a depressed mood most of the day, most days. Right. Diminished interest and pleasure in things that you used to enjoy. You used to love playing tennis, but now just don't want to do it.
Okay.
Sleeping too much, sleeping too little.
Okay.
Weight gain, weight loss. Fatigue, feelings of worthlessness. These are all things that we're looking at. Difficulty concentrating, and sometimes those recurrent thoughts of death. And that's more than just a fear of death. It's thinking about death a lot. Okay. So there's a list of, I think it's 8 or 9 criteria. And if you have a number of those over a period of time of more than a couple of weeks, we start to think about this diagnosis of depression, which is called major depressive disorder. Okay. But that's a real thing.
And at that point, I'm just going to say that's where they probably need to call you. And if after 2 weeks or so is what you're saying, that is those 9 that are recurring, it's time to make that call.
Right. Okay. And then we bring them in, and there's lots of things we can do that don't involve medication, right, in talk therapy. There's lots of coping skills we can build. We talk about self-care. We can do, changing thoughts to change the way we feel. That's cognitive behavioral work. But sometimes the therapist gets a sense of, this person, there's a piece missing here. Right. And this alone, the stuff that we're working on, doesn't seem to be enough to pull them out of this. And that's when we think about making a referral.
And you, Dave, your office, what's kind of your...
You're exactly right. Yeah. I talk to them about, how is this affecting your life? Is it doesn't always mean that it's disruptive. There's a lot of very functional people who are severely depressed. And they put up with a lot of... emotional pain.
It means their resilience is stronger.
That's actually a really important point, because what it should be for a depression diagnosis is that this represents a change from their previous functioning. Right? It's impacting other areas of their life. There, like you say, Dave, there are people who are chronically depressed who kind of just muddle through and
keep going.
They're doing okay, but when we see sort of a significant change from how a person is usually walking through the world, that's when we know that there's been a shift
stops
there.
Talking, right? And I don't come out and Cache, let's check on her.
That ain't never gonna happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Even if I was severely depressed. To your point, it needs, when you start seeing changes in people, when you start seeing changes in yourself, either you need to make a call for someone or you need to make a call for yourself.
Well, and when you get sick of it, and can I be honest with you, that's what got me out of my depression when I was younger. I was just sick and tired of being depressed.
Tired of
and thank God that I didn't have to go to any extreme measures for that. I was very fortunate for that.
Right.
And also, making some changes in my life helped.
Yeah.
So
you were ready. You were ready for change.
Yeah, Dave,
I was ready to
change. What were some of that? And we're going to take a quick commercial in about 3 minutes, but let's talk through. What were some of those? So, someone listening sitting in your shoes where you were. What did you do?
There's an idea about pushing boulders up a hill. And I think sometimes we're pushing these boulders up a hill, and they keep rolling back down to the bottom. And I think as I say this, I bet all of you guys are thinking of things that you've tried to do for so long. Perhaps it's a relationship that you try to tolerate. It may be a goal that you've somehow believed that you have to have in order to be okay. Or it could be an addiction or some other things that you need to overcome. And so you push these boulders, and then there comes a time when you become very disillusioned about life. And that illusion, it feels like that's a bad thing, but there's a point when you become disillusioned, what you're really losing is the illusion of control. And when you learn to give up control of things that you can't change, then you learn to step over to the other side and find relief. But that's not a pretty process. Again,
Well, I always talk with my clients, and you're getting at something really important, right? Is I always talk about there's 2 buckets. The bucket of things we can control.
Yeah.
I need to get 2 buckets for my office, actually.
Yeah,
okay, yes.
And a bucket of things that we can't control.
Yeah.
And when we're so focused on that other bucket of things we really can't do anything about, right? That, for instance, changing other people, right?
Yeah.
We can't change other people. All of that stuff
Yeah.
that's outside of our control, that leads to, a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Things can become a crisis versus what Dave's talking about, if you can focus on just that bucket of the things that you can change, the small things you can do today to take care of yourself, bring a little, some moments of pleasure into your life, make connections, because we do know suicide is a crisis of identity. It's a crisis of connection.
That's right.
As well. And people who are depressed tend to isolate from other people.
True. And what you said earlier, was it you change your flaws to features?
Change your flaws to features. Start recognizing the strength and turning around this idea that there's something wrong with you. It's not about that there's something wrong with you. It's that it's not who you are that's the problem. It's how you are.
Right.
And if we can change the way you pursue yourself, you can become you can live a different life from the inside out.
Flaws to features. We'll take a quick commercial and we'll be right back.
I love that. So-
We are broadcasting live from the Woodlands, Texas to the world. You're listening to the only multimedia FM station in Houston, Texas. Your fusion radio. Top 40s, dance, Latin, country, pop, rock and roll. All in one station. Mixing genres and generations. You're listening to KNLY, New Waverly, Texas. 91.1 FM, The Boss.
Veda's Medical Spa and Wellness Center is a premier wellness center specializing in effective medical interventions to help you look and feel younger. Dr. Nangrani is dedicated to providing unmatched personalized care using a holistic approach that includes sophisticated cosmetic, aesthetic, and anti-aging treatments in a warm and relaxing atmosphere. Combining a medical spa with a wellness center, we ensure the best medical treatments are complemented by specialized holistic healing techniques. Veda's treatments will enhance your natural beauty and never leave you with that done look. Visit us at vedasmedspa.com or call us at 281-298-5476.
Express your gratitude to the Lord, and may your life always be filled with joy. Happy Autumn from
KNLY 91.1 FM.
Do you feel that your energy costs are unnaturally high? Do you want to fortify your building and keep it strong and secure for years to come? Then NRG Spray Foam Installation is the answer you're looking for. Our unique foam installation is made to help our customers save in energy, prevent gas, air, and moisture infiltration, as well as helping with general stability in your building structure. Call us at 713-936-3021 or visit us online at nrgfoam.com for more information. NRG Spray Foam. Building green, living green.
This message was from a proud sponsor to KNLY 91.1 FM.
For any maintenance needs on your commercial or personal vehicle, EVG Lone Star Service specializes on European, Asian, and domestic vehicles. We can assist you with wheel alignments, tire balance, AC services, computer and electric diagnostic, and more. We're located at corner of 1230 Aldine Mail Route and Reeston Road in Houston 77039. Our phone number is 936-344-1672, or you can find us on our webpage www.evglss.com. EVG Lone Star. If it's got wheels, we can fix it.
This was a proud sponsor of KNLY 91.1 FM.
Welcome back to Today with Cachet. It's Friday. We're here in the Woodlands, Texas, and we are talking all about suicide prevention and awareness. And we have the amazing Bridget Seletka and Dave Waxler in the studio this morning helping us with that. And I did not want you to not forget, I didn't forget about, make sure you bring your toys starting after Thanksgiving, the Friday after Thanksgiving, all the way through December 23rd. Please bring in a toy for some children all over the community. I'm going to be delivering toys to them. So bring some toys. Okay, sorry. So
don't be sorry.
No, I know. I mean, because I know we want to keep digging deeper into this.
That's really important.
So as we were saying, Ivan, can you pull up the slide?
Yeah. That picture, by the way, I need to Photoshop the picture. But
who's that guy?
What a great opportunity! It's a little surly. It's kind of surly.
It's kind of you.
Who are you?
So I'm doing this work, and I'm thinking sometimes I wish I could just hand something to my clients that can just explain some of these ideas and kind of fast track. So that book it's not out yet, but if you go to that website, you can put your name on a list. I will send you a notification when it's ready. I'm hoping within another month or so, and it's got a lot of the things that we've talked about today: authenticity. Getting real. It is not a pretty process. It's not easy to become authentic, but it's definitely worth it. And then use that book maybe on your own, or if you want to use it in your own therapy, take it with you to your therapist. And then, but whenever it's ready, I'll send you that out.
Okay, awesome. Well, good. Look at you.
I love it.
Look at you.
I'm so impressed.
Trying to grow up.
We're so
I don't have a book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Bridget.
Yet.
Maybe put her name on there. Put her name on that book.
No, that wouldn't be authentic. That wouldn't be authentic.
Okay.
No, she's got a special...
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me there's nothing in there that Bridget has not stated?
I'll put her in the
acknowledgments.
Come
on.
I'll put her
There's
in the
loads of
back
stuff
and say,
There's got to be. Her name should be
I
just
do mention all my fellow therapists. In the back, so that's fine.
Okay.
Anyway,
so, but one of the things, I guess, as a wrap up, and either one of you can talk about this, is there's probably people out there who've listened today, and obviously you're still thinking, I don't know. I hear what they're saying, but how do I go to the office? Like, how do I make that call? They're still stigmatized by that step. So what can we do to listeners and viewers and people to say it's not so bad? Make the step.
Oh my gosh, it's not so bad.
Oh my God.
We're really
I walked
nice
in their
people.
office today, I tell you. I walked in there and it was the cutest thing and I didn't want to come on the show. I was sitting in the rocker relaxed. And
whatever's holding you back, honestly,
maybe
it could be financial. That's fair.
Okay.
That's a real thing.
It's very real. And it's frustrating for us because we wish there was more access to that. If you or someone you love you're listening to this and you're thinking, I need to do something, choose to do something.
Right.
You can stay where you are and nothing will change, or you'll have to wait until it sucks bad enough that you'll do something. I don't want you to wait, but I do think you should reach out, make a phone call. If you have any kind of insurance coverage, you can call your insurance plan, or you can go online. My perspective is do one thing, make one step, make a phone call, or look it up online, or do any one thing to move towards a direction. Yeah. I always say direction, not perfection. You just have to take one step.
One step.
And you'll be surprised what happens. And most people who don't want to come to counseling they're overwhelmed with how much they enjoy it. Once they get even one session, even if you give yourself one session, you might be surprised at how well you appreciate it.
And what insight you get from it.
Hopefully.
And ideas, hopefully. I totally agree. I think Psychology Today is a great resource. Yeah. You can call your insurance company, but you also can go on to Psychology Today, and most of us therapists are on there, and you can click through what the issue is you're struggling. You can select what issue you're struggling with, what insurance plan you have, what type of therapy you might be interested in, and search that way. There are low-cost providers out there, and there are therapists who are willing. They have what we call a sliding scale, where maybe their normal rate might be X per session, but they, will slide down to a much lower rate based on a person's financial circumstances. Sometimes seeing a counselor intern. We have great people who are in training to become. They have master's degrees already in counseling, so it's not like they're brand new. But they're earning the hours. It's a lot of hours. It's 3,000 hours, which is almost 2 years that they have to work before they can become fully licensed. They're like provisionally licensed, but a lot of them have really great skills, and they are doing this work at much lower rates.
Well, I guess the other thing, what I'm also hearing is, you all said, as long as you make a step to talk to someone. And on any of those levels, which you just said, you're talking to someone. When you're not talking, you're in trouble.
Even if you just sit there as you're listening to this now and you say, I am done living in misery. Yeah. And I strongly encourage you. I give you permission to get sick of being miserable. Make that choice and then see what happens next. No one has to live like this. And I don't know what that looks like for you. Everybody's story is different.
Right.
But don't just sit there and be miserable.
Right, and reach out. It really is not that scary, and therapists try to make that first phone call feel more comfortable. We're just getting some more information, and then if it feels like it's a good fit, we bring you into the office. We try to make it really comfortable and non-threatening, warm, and for people to come in and meet us and talk some things through.
And if that person doesn't match, keep trying.
That's right. Yeah. Because the relationship is important. That's the most important thing, is that you find that person that you trust.
Right. And I would rather
feel like you can work with.
I'd rather someone tell me that they're not a good fit. And I've had many. I'm not afraid to admit
that's okay. It's like anything, right? Finding the right medicine, finding the right doctor, finding the right whatever.
Find the right
But
match.
Make that step and start talking.
And every therapist has a different approach.
So if someone wants to reach out, we've got about a minute. If someone wants to reach out to you or to you, how do they get to you?
Okay, they can go onto my website, which is www.forgemypath.com, and my phone number is on there. It's my cell phone number. Reach out and we can, talk on the phone and maybe bring you in for a first appointment.
Right. Mine is newclaritycounseling.com. You can Google it, look it up online. I got a website, a little bitty blog, and trying to promote as much material resources as I can to help people out.
Well, thank you. And thank you both. What a fun,
Thanks for
talking to you all. It's actually fun. It was talking with them. So
it's fun talking about the
tough topic, but it's
tough
fun.
topic, but they made it fun. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kasha.